request a protocol officer to escort him to his seat at the council table. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council,
Somalia has made significant progress in advancing key national priorities. These include, firstly, the appointment of the Independent Constitutional Review and Implementation Commission. Secondly, the passage of 11 pieces of legislation, of which 6 have already been signed into law. And thirdly, the successful one-person, one-vote district council elections in Puntland state.
I give the floor to Ms. Catriona Laing. I thank you, Ms. Laing, for...
The current operation against Al-Shabaab has created opportunities for humanitarian access to people in need. However, insecurity has also contributed to an extremely challenging operating environment for humanitarian agencies. From January to March, around 430,000 people across Somalia were displaced by conflict and insecurity. Approximately 580,000 people live within territories controlled by non-state armed actors, and most of those displaced are women and children. President, that the proposals from the NCC are a starting point for further consultation. The inspirational women leaders of Somalia continue rightly to advocate for their rightful inclusion in political processes and decision-making. The commitment made by Somalia's political leaders to a 30% quota of women representation in the previous federal elections remains unrealized. In the recent district elections held in Puntland, only 17% of those elected were women, which is down from 27% in the first phase. Women's participation and representation needs to be codified in relevant legal frameworks, including the Constitution. As the first female SRSG in Somalia, I will be putting these issues at the forefront of my work. The federal government-led counter-Al-Shabaab operations have largely been focused on the Middle Shabelle region, Eastern Hiran and Galmudug. During these operations, Al-Shabaab has been degraded militarily and dislodged from a number of areas. This is a notable achievement.
Since the government's formation last August, I have been impressed by the collaborative working relationship between the executive and legislative branches. Both branches are committed to ensuring Somalia is governed under the protection of the law.
Mr. President, I have the honor to deliver.
I welcome the recent announcement by the constitutionally mandated bodies to complete the constitutional review process in 18 months.
I spoke with mothers in a camp for internally displaced people in Dolo. The women told me stories of entire herds of livestock being wiped out in the droughts, terrorists recruiting children as young as 11, and the dangers they faced every day as they fight to survive.
I thank His Excellency, Mr. Al-Amin.
The Council must spearhead efforts to secure unimpeded humanitarian access to all vulnerable communities in Somalia. Too often, civilians living in territories controlled by armed groups are cut off from humanitarian assistance because access is either denied or for the safety of the aid workers is threatened. This has to end. Too many lives are at stake.
Mr. President, I have the honor to deliver.
Looking ahead, the next phase in our fight against terrorism is Operation Black Lion. This operation, which is still be the most critical offensive, aims to liberate nearly all the remaining Al-Shabaab-controlled territories across the country. With the support of our frontline states, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Djibouti, we are confident that this campaign will significantly degrade Al-Shabaab and pave the way for a sustainable peace and security. We recognize that our most valuable asset is our people. Therefore, we are committed to scaling up access to quality education and health services, especially for women and youth. As a former educator, I know how education can break the cycle of poverty. I grew up in a small rural community, and after my dad passed away, my mother struggled to ensure that I get an education. She was unable to read and write, and still She checked my homework regularly by seeing whether there were any red marks on the notes.
Representative of China for his statement.
To inform the Security Council and allow for a more holistic response, we reiterate the critical need to enhance data collection and analysis on how climate change impacts peace and security in Somalia. In this regard, the Climate Security Advisor within the UN Assistance Mission in Somalia, the first advisor of this kind within a UN peace mission, can play a significant role to achieve this goal. Such data and reporting can support the implementation and development of climate adaptation measures and strategies, which can incorporate climate-related risks across all levels of governance.